Hey guys, Mike here with EBR, and this is Electric Bike Company's Model C. This is their utility cruiser that has a lighter, smaller frame material coming in at just 53 pounds. It promises up to 60 miles of range, has Class 3 speeds and 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. And this color combination with wood grain, the high chopper bars, and matte green paint, this is just one of an endless number of ways you can customize your next beach cruiser from EBC, because they have one of the most extensive and coolest customization processes in the e-bike game. So let's take a deep dive into Electric Bike Company's Model C. All right guys, so with the Model C, just a quick disclaimer, you're gonna see not only this one on camera here, but you're also gonna see a blue and yellow one, and I think even a black one. We were sent a few of these Model Cs for testing, and we didn't want to set all three up in the video, so just know ahead of time you will see several different color variations on this bike. Now with that said, it is a Class 3 bike starting at $17.99, and it does have a UL 2271 certified battery. Now, when it comes to frame sizes and payloads, this has a pretty substantial max payload of 420 pounds. So for those of you who are looking for a bike that can withhold heavier riders or you plus some gear on these baskets and racks, this is definitely a strong contender if you're looking for high max payload. Now, when it comes to frame sizing, there is only one frame size, which you have here, but the caveat to that is you can also opt when you order to choose either 24-inch wheels or 26-inch wheels. Now these are 26-inch wheels, but if you were to opt for 24-inch wheels, that would fit riders ranging from 5 foot flat all the way up to 6'8". And if you do get the 26-inch wheels, that fits riders from 5'2" all the way up to 6'10". So really wide range of riders can fit on this. And with that said, when it comes to geometry numbers, the wheelbase from rear hub to front hub or vice versa is 48 inches. The handlebar reach up top is about 17.5 inches, and you have around 8 inches of adjustability here in the seat. Now, I will say when it comes to standover height, this is a pretty substantial 31 inches on this bike. Now, I'm 5'11", and my pant inseam is 32 inches. So as you can guess, it's pretty substantial to get onto, and you will notice that the first time you go to get onto it, you have to kind of lean it over quite a bit to throw your leg over that 31-inch standover height. Now, if that's something that concerns you, or maybe you have balance or stability issues, you can rest assured that EBC also has a Model S and a Model R on their website you can check out in the link down below. And those have nice low step-through frames with height accesses around 16 inches, so much more manageable for most folks. And when it comes to colors, the combinations and the options feel endless when it comes to Electric Bike Company. You'll see on their website when you go to pick one, they have some pre-designed models you can just drag into your cart and pick those, or you can do a full customization. And when I say customization, I mean a full customization. Everything from the type and color of handlebars to the type and color of seat to the frame color out of like hundreds of options. Same with any color you want on the fenders if you pick metal, or you can opt for their in-house custom wood shop to make you custom chain guards and custom fenders. Now you can do any combination or all. So basically you could do all metal fenders and metal chain guard painted any color combo you want, or you could do all wood, or you could do like we have here where you have metal fenders and a wood chain guard. Again, lots and lots of options. With 24-inch or 26-inch wheels, you can get black tires or brown and tan tires. I think you get the point. You can do a lot of customizing on these bikes. So it's really a cool company if you want to pick a bike that's just going to be 100% yours. You can design this in a way that when you ride down the road, no one else has your bike. And that's a really cool factor. And they also have some plans for like corporate fleets. If they want to purchase a large number of bikes at once and do company colors, they can do that as well. So when it comes to just custom e-bikes, I don't know of anyone in the e-bike game that does it better than Electric Bike Company. Now, with that said, let's get back into some of these stats. They do have fenders on both front and rear, and you can, like I said, pick those between wood, metal, and any color of your choice. And the tires they chose on these 26-inch wheels are Schwalbe Fat Franks, and they're sized at 26 by 2.35 inches. Now they say to run these at around 50 PSI. Personally, I've been running this in the low 30s. I still have good traction, but it also really helps with just the handling and comfort of the bike. So lowering down that air like that allows the tires to kind of eat up some of the road vibrations. And then when you couple that with this big, fat, comfortable seat and the 80mm front suspension fork, you just get a very comfortable ride. These are super solid, easy handling bikes, and they're kind of a pleasure to ride. Now, when it comes to racks, they have mounting points for for racks in the rear or up front like you see. And there's no extra bosses for water bottle cages. So in the event that you do have a basket or something like that, you'll have to be putting your water bottle up in there. Now, also on the rack, these are MIC racks. So they are MIK racks, meaning they have compatibility with a whole slew of attachments, everything from child seats to milk crates to bags. You can attach any of these to this MIC platform and it will secure it in place, and you can even secure it with a key so it's locked in there and doesn't fall off, or even worse, get taken and you not know about it. Now, the rating for this rear rack is 65 pounds. And then that front basket up front, not only is that a very durable basket, it's metal, it's not like a plastic basket, but it can also be painted any color you want. So again, just endless customization from basically top to bottom. Now, when it comes to lighting, they do have front and rear lighting. Standard on the bike would just be a standard headlight and tail light, but this has an upgraded lighting package. So you get high and low beams up front. You do get your tail light and brake light in the rear, but you also get turn signals if you plan to ride this in city streets. Now, when it comes to the motor and battery, EBC went with a rear hub motor rated at 750 watts, and it puts out 60 Newton meters of torque. Now, this has 5 levels of pedal assist, 1 through 5, and it also has a throttle up top. Now, it comes with a 12 magnet cadence sensor standard, but you can always opt for a torque sensor if you want to pay for the upgrade on that. But it's nice to know that you at least have that option for a more natural pedaling feel. When it comes to the battery itself, it's a 48-volt battery with 14 amp hours, giving us 672 watt-hours of juice to work with. Now, it's also lockable and removable, and I'll show you how that comes off now. You simply put the key in on the far side, turn it 180 degrees, and that will release the battery from the lock here. And then you have your on-off switch, charging port, the battery info, and then a quick little read display of the battery's power level if you want to just check it on the go. Now, when it comes to range on this, they say you can get up to 60 miles with this standard 14 amp hour setup. But if you want more, you can also get options that run it as high as 100 or even 160 miles of range from a single charge, but that would be a dual battery setup with a second battery up in the basket. Now, to put this back on, you just simply reverse that process. You'll put it into its little slide here, put it down, and put the lock in place, and then the key is removed. Now, that battery is also UL 2271 certified, and when it comes to warranties, it does have a standard 2-year option, and the bike frame itself has a 10-year option. But if you want more protection when it comes to the battery, they have options of 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years to add on top of that standard 2-year warranty of the battery. So you can potentially go as far as 5 years warranty on the battery should you want to do those upgrades. And in regards to that 60 miles of range, I did a range test on this, and in PAS1, so at the lowest level of assistance, I was able to get 54 miles, so right up knocking on that door of 60 miles. And in PAS5, so the fastest power it will give me, I still got 29 miles. So roughly between 30 and 55 miles was my realistic or real world range results, while they advertise up to 60. So super close and super happy with that just in general. Now, when it comes to the component lineup on the Model C, it's another area where the customization options kind of become endless. And if you're wondering how they manage all this with so many bikes, now, normally when you buy a direct-to-consumer e-bike, it's generally going to be pre-assembled in some factory to a spec sheet that is just the standard available bike spec sheet that's shipped fully assembled to the retailer who you're buying it from, who then ships it to your door. Now, with EBC, they have a very different approach that's very cool. They are ordering all the raw materials, globally sourcing them, and then once they get them, they're giving you kind of an open canvas to build the bike however you want. That's how they're able to paint it whatever color combo you want, do whatever custom work you need, like chain guards or fenders in wood, their in-house wheel shop where they make and true the wheels. They do a lot of everything right here in their production facility in Southern California. And ultimately, it just gives you a much more custom process. Now, when you make that order, they're going to assign that order to one specific mechanic who's going to build your bike to your standards. They're going to inspect it, ensure everything is tight and everything is up to spec. Then they're going to give your bike a little certificate of inspection with their signature on it. And then when you receive your bike, it will come fully assembled. So EBC pays for larger than normal shipping box sizes, and that allows them to simply loosen the front bar up here at the top handlebar, angle the handlebars down, roll it into a box completely ready to go. We're talking PSI and the tires is up and all the bolts are tight. That way when you open it, you simply roll the bike out, turn the handlebars back up, tighten them where you like them for your reach, and you're really ready to go. That's something unique about EBC that not many other brands are doing, and just something worth giving them a shout out for. Now, one cool feature about that is, should you have an issue with the bike when you get it, you can call EBC and they will connect you to the person who built your bike and who will have that personal one-on-one knowledge with it. Just another cool thing to kind of make sure the whole process is 100% yours. So with that said, the drivetrain options are either a single speed setup like we have here with a 16-tooth rear cog and a 46-tooth front chainring, or you can opt for a 7-speed drivetrain, which will give you a Shimano drivetrain, 7-speed cassette in the rear with the same 46-tooth chainring up front. Now you also have 170mm crank arms. You have your chain guard that can be, well, either wood custom or metal painted to whatever color you want. And then you have standard flat pedals with reflectors and some rubber grip sections on them as well. Now moving up to the saddle. You have quite a few options when it comes to a saddle. This is their saddle with a backrest, and it's in a brown or tan color. Now, whichever you pick, black or tan, they will go ahead and automatically match the grips too, just for the flow. But you can also get this in black, which would make the grips black, or you can get their even wider seat, or no backrest, like I said earlier, just get their standard seat. So several options when it comes to your saddle. I will say, the backrest on this is a little far back for me. I'm not able to get much use out of it when I'm pedaling. I kind of have to scoot forward to pedal more. But if I'm just cruising with throttle, putting my back up against the backrest, it's very comfy, very just kind of fun way to ride. I kind of appreciated that. Now, moving up to the front fork, we have a unbranded coil fork with 80mm of travel. And this also has a lockout option. You can just, on the upper crown here, lock that out, and that will prevent it from compressing. And then when you want it back, you can just simply flip that switch again and you've got your fork back. 80mm of travel, coil suspension fork, does the job along with the tires around low 30 PSI and this comfy seat. It really is a very comfortable cruiser in that regard. Now, checking out the cockpit here. So this is a handlebar setup you likely don't see often on cruisers. That's because this is just one of the fun builds they sent to us for just testing and having a good time with. So it's got these raised kind of ape hanger chopper style bars that you see on motorcycles. Kind of a cool look, fun way to do it, especially if you live down by the beach. But if you don't like this, they've got classic cruiser bars that just go back like you normally would expect. They've also got BMX style handlebars, or even a flat bar like a mountain bike bar. And all of those, depending on what you pick, will pretty wildly change the overall look of the bike. So you can really build these to just be as mild and conservative or as wild as you want when you do so. Now, also you can pick between black finish on the handlebars and seat posts and rims, or a silver finish, which depending on how you're doing the colors of your bike, could really help make it pop too. Now, when it comes to the layout of it, we've got the grips on either side. These are their leather grips that have embossed the logo of Electric Bike Company on them. On either side, you have your brake levers. Right here, you have a push throttle that you can choose between a push throttle like this or a twist throttle like a motorcycle would have or some e-bikes have. And then here on this side, you have your control panel for the display. Now, as far as cable management goes, they are run into the frame, and overall, I'd say the wiring is clean and doesn't get too bulky or just disorganized like we see on some bikes, so kudos in that regard as well. But let's take a closer look at this display and talk about some of its functions as well as how to change the speeds on it. All right, so this is the bike in its off position. I wanted to show you this powering it on because there's always a little warning screen you have to acknowledge. So you'll hit the power button, that will turn the bike on, and it'll just basically make you to agree to the terms and conditions. You're going to use the plus button to go to accept or reject if you don't feel like ever riding your bike. And that will take you to the home screen. Now, this is one of two different UI modes. This one's got like a car dashboard speedometer, but they also have more of a basic layout if you want that. And I'll show you where to change that. Now, when you turn it on, you'll see there's a PAS button or a PAS symbol with a line going through it, which means I can't use the PAS controls at all. But if I hold the minus button, that will cycle off PAS, and now I have pedal assist activated on the bike. Up here, these four dots are going to be what PAS level we're in. So we're currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can back it back off the same way. This is going to be your speedometer. Over here, you've got some data screens. So you've got your ambient temperature, your current voltage, your odometer, and trip meter, which has been recently reset. And I'll show you where you can do that as well. And if you want to cycle through these screens, you can just hit the power button. If you hold it, it'll turn the bike off, but if you tap it, it'll cycle through these. So right now we've got power and wattage. Now we can go to cadence and RPM, so how often we're cycling the pedals. Then you have your current and amps. and then you have your back to your speed and home screen. Now, if you want to change some of the advanced settings, there's a couple menus you can go through. To get to them, you'll hold the plus and minus buttons at the same time, and that will take you to the advanced settings. So this first screen are things you have control over. The second screen we'll get into next are going to require an admin password, which you'll get from Electric Bike Company, and that will allow you to go into those. But for this, you have your how long you can take the bike to turn off when you stop riding the bike and walk away. You can change how long that takes. Here you can swap between kilometers and miles per hour. Here you can adjust the backlight settings and the display brightness essentially. Here is the theme, so kind of the layout, or excuse me, the theme will be colors of the layout. And then if you want to go and change the whole layout itself, there's one more option, kind of a simpler option, but you'll do that right here. And then you simply exit out. Now for the parameters menu, again, these are more advanced settings that have to do with speed, the class of the bike, the wheel size, battery info, resetting the odometer if you ever want to sell it. I'm just kidding. But that will allow you to get into more technical, deeper settings that will need a password from the brand. And then finally, you have your screen that's going to give you your display information. So you've got your serial number, your software, and your hardware, all things that they might ask you for if you're working with support. But really, that's going to be the basis of this display, and to get out of this, you'll just hold the plus and minus again, and that will take you back to the home screen. So as you can see, it's got everything you need and some advanced things that you can control yourself, and even deeper things that you can work with Electric Bike Company to tweak if you need to. And so that wraps up the display on the Electric Bike Company. All right, friends, here we are out on the Model C. Now, when you ride this bike, it's definitely a cruiser bike. There's just no getting around it. The big sweatback cruiser bars, the big wide padded spring supported seat, and then just the overall looks. The geometry supports just being a cruiser. You're gonna be sitting nice and upright. You're gonna have your arms out on these bars. And really, it's super comfortable. It's a very cozy bike to ride around on. And that comes from a couple places. One being the front suspension fork. It does have a lockout feature on it as well. And it does a good job of eating up any big impacts. But then you have the tires. And these tires, I think the rubber compound is a bit nicer than, I don't want to say than most, but it's definitely a nicer rubber compound because you can feel it's got a little bit more squish to it, a little softer rubber compound, so that just adds to the comfort on the bike. And then of course the big fat saddle that has the spring supports. It just all teams up for a really comfy ride. Now the brakes on this are the Tektro Dorados. So these are 4-piston caliper brakes. And these are kind of more of a mid-tier setup than opposed to some of the more entry-level Tektros we see with 2 pistons. And they have really good stopping power. So we'll get up to about 20 here and just play with them for a second. All right, so 3, 2, 1. Yeah, they really do a good job. I don't want to stop too much in front of these people and them get freaked out. But even just like day-to-day braking, they've got good control. Quick stops, slow stops. They just feel really nice. Now, I don't know if you can hear it, but the 500 watt motor on here, 750 watt motor, it does have a little bit of motor noise to it, or a motor whine, I've heard people refer to it as. It's just kind of that idle electrical sound you hear in the background. You do hear it surge when the motor's like peaking or trying to get you up to speed. So right now you may or may not hear it, but if I go to PAS5 and then get up to 20, you might hear it. Let's try that. So you may or may not have heard that. It's just there. It's not super distracting, but if you're somebody that needs a quiet motor, you would have a little bit of motor noise out of this one. As far as power and speed goes, it pretty much matches the theme of the bike. It's capable of getting up to 28 miles an hour. Throttle will take you to 20. It can climb up hills reasonably well. I wouldn't say it's a hill screamer, but if you live around a beachy area, most of the time you're going to be fine, and I think it's going to fit that vibe. The acceleration, in fact, let's do that acceleration real quick. We're on a flat spot. Let's go up to 20. All right, 3, 2, 1. So a decent amount of push off the start, not jumpy, but not super slow. And we are up to about 15. and 20, there you go. So as you can see, I mean, throttle response and acceleration is certainly, like, I'd say great for a beach cruiser. It's capable of being a little peppy like you just saw, but also not something that's meant for speed. It's, you know, beach cruiser. That's why they have the name cruiser. All in all, I think with the range of this and the brakes and the motor, and then just the soft ride, plus color comboing it any way you want, they're just fun, well-built bikes to kind of cruise around on, whether that be at the beach or your college campus. It's just a fun little personalized bike you can kind of make your own and enjoy. So that's it from kind of a ride perspective. You do have 5 levels of pedal assist. No secret types of riding to change. I do have on this model, let's get up this little hill here real quick. This is 9%, and I'm gonna use throttle only. So on a 9% grade, we slowed down to about 13.1 at the lowest. Not terrible. This one does have the direct drive, so no 7 speeds on it. It's just a standard single speed sprocket in the rear, freewheel, so you can still roll the tire. And I'd say, let's actually stop with no pedal assist and just see how hard it is to get going. So no pedal assist, and you can't shift down, keep that in mind. And I'm on flat terrain. It's a little tough to get going, but that just means you can get speed. You can, let me turn on this pedal assist. It'll ride well on flats. Now, if you have substantial hills in your area, again, maybe look for something with a little bit more punch, but I'd say this one really fits the bill for what it's designed to do. Now let's go back and chat with Ben and get his thoughts from a mechanic standpoint about the Model C. All right, guys, it's that time in the video again where I can close my mouth and let Ben do the real talking. He has a ton of experience working on bikes. He's our in-house mechanic, and he's going to share his thoughts on the EBC here, specifically some things that he likes that they've done, and maybe some areas for improvement as well. Ben, I'm going to jump out of your way and let you do your thing, but thank you to Feedback Sports for sponsoring. They provided us with this Pro HD rack. It's aluminum, lightweight, but as you can see, super stable, even with this giant 80-pound bike in it. So very cool. And if you guys want to check out their stuff, there's a link down in the description. Ben, go ahead and take it away with what you like about the EBC Model C.
All right, thanks, Mike. This one with EBC bikes, there's a lot of common traits that I'll point out, and what that does surface or circle around is the stainless steel hardware. Initially, I had thought that it was just on the rack mounts and bolts, but holding a magnet up to a lot more of the parts and pieces, there's a lot more stainless steel than I thought on here, which is great. Again, just for corrosion resistance, and then for sure strength of nuts, bolts, hardware. So I really like that. The rear rack is notable, one, because it's MIK compatible, which means you can use milk crates, kid seats. There's so many cool things you can put on a rack that is MIK compatible. All right, so there's that. Also, it's got mounts on multiple points on the frame, so that means when you do put a load on this rack, it's going to stay there. Nice wide platform, sturdy mounts, and it's adjustable. All good things. I always like Schwalbe tires. These things have been working great. I've ridden them off-road, on-road, commuter bike, every type of bike. With these reflective stripes, you know you're going to get a very reliable tire. It's going to roll smooth and just feel awesome all the way around. A couple of other notable things are the custom wood chain guard. This thing just always looks nice, you know, on bikes like this where it's a little bit more classic looking because it's a cruiser style, so they just up the ante with that. And then lastly, to point out things that I really like on this are the 2-piece chain ring. And again, what that means is it's just easier to replace if and when you need to, because it gets bent or broken or a teeth breaks off or something like that. Another thing, I guess the last thing that I like about this bike is how it accommodates taller or bigger riders. And when I say that, you've got a big frame, it's tall, it's also got a long wheelbase, which is great, but then they partner that with these big old chopper, 8-hanger handlebars. Man, this really opens it up to a very, very tall person that can sit back, feel comfortable, and have all the room that they need to pedal and turn at the same time. So this just opens it right up.
Nice, man. What kind of things would you improve on this bike?
With this one, it's a pretty simple bike, so there's really not that much to talk about as far as improvements, but I think that it would do a great job as a mechanic to get some fender hardware that's easier to access. The bolts to adjust the struts are on the back side of this, which makes it a little bit more of a pain. And then also to adjust this piece right here, if the fender becomes off center, then it just, it's just really hard to get into that nut to adjust it or even tighten it if it comes loose. So it would be nice to have those a little easier to access. As much as I love the color and the paint match of these fenders, they're metal, which means they're a little heavier and they make a little bit more noise. So if there was a way to, and I don't think that there is, so this is me just ranting, is to get plastic fenders that they can also paint. But the bike sure does look great with that color match paint. It would be nice, and I've mentioned this before, the adjustment on the seat rail attachment here. This is a very old school, very old style 2-nut piece where what might happen and is likely to happen, because they're very hard to get tight, is that when you lean on this backrest, the seat's just going to kind of want to rock back and forth right there. So I really wish that they could get what's referred to as a micro adjust seat post. That would really do well on this one. And then speaking of this backrest, you know, it's in an awkward position, unfortunately. It does have adjustment height-wise, which is great for people with taller or shorter torsos. However, we found, some of us in the group here have found that we wish that it could just be moved forward. It does have one stationary mount point, which means you cannot slide it forward or backwards. That sure would be a really cool thing to have on there, is just a fore and aft adjustment. The last thing I'll touch on is the fork and stem. This is a threaded fork and a quill stem. There's not really anything wrong with that, but it does tend to flex more. It is heavier, and sometimes under enough force, you can move the stem against the fork and they won't stay in place. So there are just some slight things to do that would be stronger, easier to adjust. You'll find replacement parts more readily available in bike shops, and the stems would be the one. But that's all I can pick on, Mike.
Nice, man. Once again, Ben, I appreciate your time and kind of sharing your thoughts on this bike.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, so there you have it, the Electric Bike Company Model C in a nutshell. So as you can see, these bikes are endlessly customizable. You can really make them 100% your own, and they go that extra mile by sourcing all the raw materials globally, but then bringing everything here in-house, letting you pick the bike of your dreams, and building it, painting it, assembling it, inspecting it, everything right here in the US, and shipping it to you fully assembled. So you don't need to worry about tools or any frustrations. It's a very cool setup. Now, this is going to be a great bike if you're looking for a beach cruiser and you want something with some personality. You don't want something that looks like it came off a rack or something that everyone else is going to have on the boardwalk. This is really where EBC starts to shine with their customization. This would also be good for just getting around a college campus or even a little bit of city riding, downtown markets. It's a very cool bike that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy building out and customizing. If I missed any points that you guys want to know about, put them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to respond to all of them. And until the next review, if you haven't done so already, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. I'm Mike with EBR, and until the next review, I'll see you guys out on the trail.